On the last fight day of the year for the UFC fans, we have updates from Jon Jones vs Tom Aspinall fight, Jake Paul vs Nate Diaz MMA fight, Muhammad Mokaev's return, PFL's decline, 5 new fight announcements and more. To keep you updated with the fight world, let's start the video from Muhammad Mokaev's return to the cage. I'm the Indian accent guy and you are on Fightbook. Muhammad Mokaev returns to the MMA cage for the first time since getting kicked out of the UFC and taps out his opponent Joe So in less than 2 minutes at Brave CF 91. So had taken this fight on just 2 days notice and doesn't hold an appealing record, so Mokaev's former opponent Charles Johnson suggests his next fight should be against Diaz Gaipov, who also won his Brave debut last night by unanimous decision and is riding a 7-fight win streak. A one-armed MMA fighter, Marnie Max, also got his 3rd straight first-round finish over another so-called fighter. It was a nasty KO last night at Chuto, Brazil in Rio de Janeiro. Stephen Thompson is rooting for Joaquin Buckley tonight, and Islam Makhachev also doesn't hold back and responds to Colby calling him a weight bully. Islam says Colby can't prove anything with his fights, so he tries to be well known using his mouth. Colby is also getting criticism from the fans since his last performance, so now he responds to the criticism and claims that altitude poisoning from training at high elevation was a big reason on his performance against Leon Edwards. Colby also says Edwards is the only fighter he would like to sit down and have a conversation with. Miles Jones, who is fighting in the prelims at UFC Tampa, vents frustration after his last co-main event fight cancellation against Cody Garbrandt. He asked Cody to go through the fire before riding off into the sunset. Cody Garbrandt, by the way, shared his new look with a new tattoo, which is looking pretty badass. Finally, UFC Saudi Arabia man and co-main event is announced along with 3 other fights. Israel Adesanya will fight Nassurdin Imavov as a 5-rounder headliner of the UFC Saudi Arabia, while Shara Magomedov will fight Michael Venom Page in the co-main event of the show on February 1st. Walter Walker will fight Dontale Mayes at UFC Vegas 102 on February 15th. Undefeated Rafael Estevam also returns at UFC Vegas 102 against the streaking Jesus Aguilar. And Curtis Blades, who always has difficulty in finding opponents, will welcome Rizwan Kuniev into the octagon at UFC Seattle on February 22nd. Kuniev is 2-0 in Contender Series and was supposed to fight at UFC 310, but his opponent pulled out. Tom Aspinall had an interview with Piers Morgan Uncensored where he answered some questions related to his potential fight with Jon Jones. He has revealed details from his meeting with Dana White directly after the UFC 309 post-fight press conference last month and says that Dana told him his fight with Jon Jones is going to happen and it's going to be the biggest fight in the UFC history. He then discusses Jones' multiple failed drug tests and says Jones' history of failed drug tests disqualifies him from the GOAT conversation in the sport of MMA. Jon Jones, by the way, shared a video on Instagram getting a gift from a fine art company for his new house. It's a photo of Daniel Cormier crying, which Jones put up on his wall and admits it would be funny. Number 6 ranked middleweight contender Caio Borralho also had an interview where he spoke about what is next for him after beating former title challenger Jared Cannonier in his first main event. He revealed that although Sean Strickland and Khamzat Chimaev both are his friends, he is willing to fight any of them in order to get the title shot. Bo Nickel, on the other hand, talks about number 14 ranked Shara Magomedov and says that he doesn't consider him a difficult opponent. He believes UFC is giving Shara a push and won't mess it up by matching them against each other. Dustin Poirier announces via X that he will be fighting one last time soon and that there will be blood when he returns. Aljamain Sterling also took X to announce that he is not done just yet after his UFC 310 loss and wants his next fight in March 2025. UFC 310 headliner Alexander Pantoja says that he now wants to train with the flyweight goat Demetrius Johnson after his refusal to come back and fight Pantoja. Jake Paul says while promoting an MVP boxing event that Nate Diaz is scared to fight him in MMA. Diaz didn't take much time in responding and accepted the fight, but he probably wanna do this in his own promotion, Real Fight Incorporated, and not in a shitty promotion like PFL. PFL is, by the way, facing a lot of criticism by its own champions for not giving them fights. Bellator bantamweight champion Patchy Mix and their featherweight champion Patricio Pitbull both asked for the release due to inactivity. Pitbull has clearly stated that he wants to receive his release before Christmas to sign with the UFC, as this is the only way for his legacy to get acknowledged. His longtime coach and mentor Eric Albarracin says Patricio is ready to make the move to the UFC and that he suggests a BMF title fight with Max Holloway for his debut. UFC fighters are also showing Pitbull their support, and when Dana was asked about him, Dana said that a lot of PFL fighters that are supposed to be fighting are not getting fights. He says it's clear that they are running out of money and that we will see a lot more fighters complaining about those circumstances. And then PFL's boss Don Davis provides a positive update about the future of PFL and Bellator amid all the talks and says that in 2025 PFL will have most events and biggest fights ever in their history. They have signed UFC and One Championship veteran Sage Northcutt and also revealed their first card of the year, Road to Dubai Championship Series, headlined by Usman Nurmagomedov defending his lightweight title against Paul Hughes. The co-main event of the card will be the third meeting of Vadim Nemkov and Corey Anderson after Nemkov's original opponent Ante Delija withdrew for unknown reasons. After a no contest in their first meeting, Nemkov had successfully defended his light heavyweight belt against Corey Anderson in 2022. Now Nemkov is coming off his successful heavyweight debut while Anderson is the current light heavyweight champion. Feature bout of the card will be Zabit's 10-0 undefeated brother Hassan Magomed Sharipov against Nathan Kelly, who is also riding an 11-fight win streak. Do you think it's gonna be enough and they can make the PFL better, or it's the start of the end? I personally believe the card has the place to put one more champion in the co-main event. Share your thoughts in the comment section about this situation and subscribe for the quick news tonight related to UFC Tampa. If you are already subscribed, then do whatever you want.